welcome to the show, guys. Got a great one lined up for you today. Hopefully. BALLBUSTERS, episode 85. Natural science and the scientific method. Yeah, buddy. That's right. Shout out to the quiet one. As usual, if you'd like to support this channel, there are PayPal and Patreon links in the info box below. I'm guessing we have the distinguished Nathan Oakley, partner of the show out there. How's it going today, Nathan?
Very well indeed. How are you, Quantum Eraser? Good to be here.
I am fine, sir. Hot, but fine.
Hot and fine also. It's nice here. Everyone's happy out in the sunshine. Hope you're all doing well out there in YouTube land listening to us live. Hope you're all enjoying the sunshine also.
Yeah, if they're in the States, they're going to be enjoying it most of next week, too. Look out, guys. There's a heat wave coming that's going to smoke your drawers. Tell you that much. I don't want to get into the weather too much, but it's speakable this time. They were right when they said it's going to be a scorcher next week. And it's not just going to be one day. It's going to extend like 5 or 6 days, he said. I said, oh, Lord, everything's dead already here. So it's just going to kill everything off twice. So look out, guys. Stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated. Don't spend too much time in the sun. You'll end up with a massive headache. Find some shade.
Oh, we got a whole bunch of... Go ahead.
I was just going to say that it's if you are in that state and you happen to be an anti-flat earther, it's a very distressing time at the moment for anti-flat earthers. So I just thought I'd make a note of the fact that there's a lot of people sharing their pain from a distance with us at the moment. Anti-flat earthers, obviously dwelling on some of the things that we cover in this hot weather that we're having. Well, I really appreciate you letting me know, just to let you know, and you know who you are. Thank you.
Make sure you're stocked up on water. Dehydration can be, that can actually induce delirium. So I don't think the anti-flat earthers could use even more of that. So
the globetards must not be drinking water then, because they've been in delirium for as long as I can remember.
Well, it could get worse. I know that's hard to imagine, but
Speaking of which, Nathan, you brought up a good point, and it triggered my memory from last night, because I was talking to a few people in Discord, and the subject came up, and I understand where you got the anti-flat earthers. I got it. Remember, they used to be the left-wing fuckwit faction that just makes shit up that I used to comment on for the past few years. And I don't know if we've gone over this. We might have. I just forgot, or it's been gone over without me being around. But aren't the anti-flat earthers more or less anti-globers?
Yes. Yes, they are.
Indeed.
Heretics.
Wow, Nick.
Heresy is what they're committing. So we find ourselves debating against people, and it occurred to me and you that you're having to educate them. You used the perfect example you've used quite consistently and concisely was gravity. So with gravity, for the longest time, you've explained that you first have to educate them on what they're actually claiming in the current narrative, which is Einsteinian gravity, notwithstanding the fact that it's been debunked. But their gravity currently is Einstein. Now, typically, they'll start barking mass attracting mass to you, so you've got to educate them in their own nonsense before you can debunk it. I sort of step back from that for a second, and you go, well, if they're not in line with the current rhetoric, isn't that where you put the full stop? They're not in line with the current rhetoric, right? So another example that I've had is me having to potentially jump in the battle with someone like Simon Dan, as he explains to me that my reference frames are ruined because I detail how Earth doesn't have 2 reference frames. He then ascribes those reference frames to me and challenges them, not realizing that it's the globe's claim of having 2 reference frames that he says are ruined. Well, that is a perfect example of anti-flat Earth. The heresy that is denial of the original globe claim, just so you can fight with a flat earther about how they debunk it. It doesn't matter how they debunk it. You can debunk their debunking even if it doesn't line up with the globe's original claim, because you've won against the flat earther in your mind. It doesn't change the fact that the full stop came a long time ago. They're not in line with the globe rhetoric. They don't believe it either.
Yep, I ran into it, like I said last night, and my conclusion just naturally and ironically, we were discussing many topics, but one topic came up was gravity. He didn't even know that there were two different types. So my conclusion after our discussion, which was rather short and to the point, was it was just naturally came out. You're an anti-glober. So not that he's not an anti-flat earther, that's true, but it doesn't anti-glober, doesn't that have more teeth?
Globe heretic.
Yes, exactly. That's even better.
In their
Feral.
deluded mind. In their
Feral.
deluded mind, it's like the priest that's trying to convince you of something other than the, I don't know, Christian viewpoint as an easy example. Like, well, you're a priest. Oh yeah, well, I'm still a Christian. Like, but you're not in line with the view of the church. Therefore, you're a heretic. Well, this is very similar in the regards that they believe that they are globe believers, but they're not in line with the globe rhetoric. They just don't know it yet.
So globe
They're feral.
heresy. So that's what
It's
I'm
globe
going to
heresy.
start focusing on, that globe heresy. I think that's, concise and right to the point. And really, that's got some teeth too. So that's what I'm rolling with from now on. If they don't follow what their globe rhetoric is from their pseudoscience priest, I'm calling them right out. Yep. From here on out.
Andrew,
Hello?
oh no,
They're feral. They're bewildered globers. They're in a wild growth. They're going outside of the narrative, outside of the religion. But I wonder if they even consciously realize that that's what they're doing. But they are. Feral. Bewildered.
So welcome, Arwen and Adam, the Adam Meekin. Welcome, sir. Sorry I failed to introduce you. It wasn't out of lack of respect. I just wanted it. We just got into it right away. So how are you, sir?
I was enjoying. I was enjoying. I was thinking of an analogy myself, and they're so desperate to win a battle, aren't they? That if there was a battle for their own munitions yard, they would consider bombing it a victory, which is kind of what they're doing right now. In all of these things, it's.
Yep, it was a point that was brought up, and I said, you know what? I'm going to bring this point up on BALLBUSTERS tomorrow and everyone agreed on there that it had a little bit more teeth, but the anti-globe, I don't want it to sound more or less like the anti-flat earther, which they are, by the way. I'm not saying that they're not. It doesn't preclude that, but what I'm saying here is a globe heretic, because it could be easily proven, right? As soon as I ask them about gravity, if they don't know what gravity is, or just like this guy, he just wanted to provide his own definition, his own theory, and we're going to get into that here in a minute. I said, I don't want what you're going to make up. It's not you. It's not your definition. Go head out there in fairy tale land and get it from your pseudoscience priest and post it here, right? I don't care what you say it is. He's already established a numpty, right? I don't know what it's certifiable Dunning-Kruger out there, guys. It's bad. It's getting worse.
Yep. Hey, QE, can I sing something?
Yeah, good.
Nobody knows what gravity is. Nobody knows but Jesus.
No more Dutch singing on my show.
Oh, come on. That was
on-
a reference to Spaceballs.
On our show. Sorry about that, Nathan. Yeah, stick to just speaking.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad, Arwen. I was just making lighty.
I thought the deep notes were impressive, Owen.
Thank you. I have a very wide vocal range, I know. And I felt really inspired.
Let's see what everyone else thought. I'm not looking at chat. They're probably laughing.
It's an
There is
important
one
point. Hold on.
Go on, you go first, Adam.
I was listening. Gravity has been thrown about all over the place today on some of the street activity. It was in Cambridge today, so that the notorious place, the boffins, come out. The not real anti-flat earthers, but science geeks that all flat earthers. I'm going to go and smash them. And And fair play to Jason. He's not as tooled up as this guys, but they are listening. A lot of the stuff we're doing, and one of the things, the first thing I noticed, Jason, because there was a couple of times, was make them differentiate which gravity. I thought was brilliant. So shout out Jason Disbury, who's on the tour, mate. It was get them to clarify which it is, whether it's mass attracting mass or whether it's the bending of 4D Romanian force space.
So
Yeah?
hold on.
But
Let's
it
give
was great to hear that.
Hold on. Hold on. Let's give a
I'm holding.
Well, let's give a proper introduction. So, Jason, of who, what, when, where, why, and how.
What? Okay, so there's a UK flat Earth tour going around at the moment. It's halfway through, and the main guy that's streaming is the guy that put up the first camper van, Jason of the Disbury family. If you give me a minute, I will post it in chat, his channel. 1 second.
Cool.
So they're going around, and unlike the European tour and previous tours, there's not a camper van. People are just making their way from place to place, and there's quite a few. So there's Jason is there, Harry, who's one of the early old school flat earthers, 2013, 14, going around, getting this information out there pre-YouTube. He's there. Sven, who was on the tour with me, he did the Germany leg. He's out there. And then the guy that he caught at the end, I think, of yesterday's Flat Earth debate, Dave Mann, Trinity 4, he's there as well. There's quite a few. Lisa's there, the artist and poet. She's out there chalking and doing flat Earth art around there because you can't get done for drawing with chalk. She's doing bits and bobs like that just to raise it as well. So there's quite a crew out there cruising around, and there's lots of folks meeting up as well. I saw Tony Whitcomb from a lot of the chats.
Really?
Up there. Yeah. So, and a good few old friends as well, Barry, and it's too many to go into, and so apologies if I forget you. I'm really looking forward to Tuesday as well. So the tour's going around. I think it's in Peterborough Monday, and then Nottingham Tuesday. I'll get the details and put it in, but I'll stop rambling and I'll post this link in the chat if that's all right, to his channel, and there you can get daily updates. And it's live streaming daily from wherever it is for a good 4 or 5 hours.
So is the one second, Nathan? I knew you wanted to jump in before that. I'll get right back to you in a second. What is the official name of this?
There's 2 things you need to be aware of. One is Jason of the Disbury family. That is the YouTube channel that you can see this stuff being live streamed from for the next week at least. So Jason of the Disbury, Disbry family. That's where you can find this.
Spamming it now, Nathan.
The tour is called the Globe Lie Tour. That's currently going up and down the country. It's about halfway through, as Adam just went through. There's a couple of other people that are live streaming it as well. One of which I gave out the name of the YouTube channel name, who you said at the end, Dave, his name is. What's the channel for him? He's also live streaming.
Dave Trinity 4.
So his channel name is Trinity
4.
Yeah, Trinity, then 4. That's another YouTube channel you can check out there because he is also live streaming. I wanted to make a quick note. My panel listened to him chat about Flat Earth with somebody on the street and was super critical of his methodology towards the end. I tried to damp that down by giving him nothing but praise about the bits he did do really well on. But he said, I've just come across the Flat Earth debate and listened in a couple of weeks, picking up some really good stuff, to camera. This is to my audience live. And then I just said to Adam, can you just film a bit of them debating on the street? And he did dutifully do exactly that. And all my panel did was criticise him for not being up to date with the Flat Earth debate. And I had to say, look, we're a very small fish in this pond. And that was where I wanted to link this back to the globe heresy and anti-Flat Earth, respectively. In the regard that we're all in the same pond. So as much as my panel are hypercritical of people who are like, well, you should know our debate methodology, and you could have done a lot better and a lot quicker if you'd have known this, that, and the other argument, and not put your views and beliefs about this, that, and the other thing that you believe to the camera and slash audience
Neil.
member slash person that's actually on the street in this instance. So we're on the same pond as the globe heretics because they're just as dangerous as we are. Now, for whatever reason, I'd never spotted this till recently either. You just see them getting more views than you, getting more popularity than you, getting higher up the list when you search for flat Earth. It suddenly dawned on me, well, that doesn't mean that they're being exposed out like your average, let's keep it on the same topic, space video. There's been a few times that I, pre-flat Earth, came across this YouTuber. It was just a random YouTuber talking about the Earthrise picture from the moon. And talking about how it made him feel and all this sort of stuff. And it was about a 6 or 7 minute video. It had hundreds, if not millions of views, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views. And it wasn't anything like types of videos and videography that we have produced here in this pond. I'm talking about from our opponents. They're all bundled together in the same place. Yeah, we might, as the flat earthers, not come up high on the list. But the list is just somebody who's wandered their way to this pond when they're looking at those lists. Now, the fish that are, for whatever reason, more obvious and on the surface, aren't us. We're buried under rocks. Why? I don't know. Maybe we'll figure that out going forward. That doesn't change the fact that this isn't the big wide ocean that we're talking about when we talk about anti-flat earthers. Now, I've given all that preamble because why is that? I mentioned it a second ago. Because they, anti-flat earthers slash globe heretics, are globe heretics. They're not in line with the globe belief. It needs to be kept nice and simple, away from all the complicated, convoluted arguments that show it's not right. Nice and plain and simple for the general Western world audience member who's going to be subject to this from birth and education. They need to be kept well away from conspiracy cats, Simon Dan, whoever, Freaky Grinder, Binder, whatever his name is. All of these people need to be kept away from the general Western world population. Because if they hear some of the stuff that Chocolate would, if he was here, is Chocolate currently here, would go through this when he talks about people at work. And he says that he will put across some of the anti-flat earth slash they think they're globe believers arguments to them. And say, no, this is actually semi-canon. This is what the globe thinks. And they can't believe how stupid it is when they hear anti-flat earth rhetoric put to them. They think Chocolate's making it up and lying about what the globe says. He's like, no, that's what's supposed to happen on a globe, according to what we get pumped to us on a regular basis from our opponents. And they're like, nah, you're making it up. Well, that is a reaction that you do not want your general average normie who's out reading the paper and learning about politics, and that's their general fill of nonsense for the day. They don't need anti-flat earth nonsense out to them in the general Western world. So where do they put them? Well, they put them in the pond with us, so we can fight amongst ourselves. But we're all in the same pond. Now, while you look at that from our side and go, well, that's terrible, isn't it? You're just in a little pond fighting amongst yourself. Yeah, but the anti-flat earthers don't realise this yet. They don't know that. And they don't know when they find out or if they figure it out. They won't necessarily know why they've been put in that pond. It's because, as I say it for the third time and then I'll stop waffling, they're just as dangerous as the flat earthers. Because they don't believe it either. They're globe heretics.
Outstanding.
They're all feral.
I'd like to also shout out a video that's only got 353 views, and it was done by Face Reality. This is outstanding. I don't know if anyone on the panel has watched this yet, but he did an outstanding job. I was pretty impressed with it. Nathan, have you seen this?
It rings a bell. Remind me.
He kept on saying in the chat the past few weeks that just be on the lookout for the new Flat Earth movie coming out, right? And I was like, yeah, okay. And Anthony sent this to me, and that's him. This is Face Reality. It is really good. Let me go ahead and spam this. Oh, not that one. In the chat also. Make sure you check this out, Nate. I want to get your take on it. And you also, Adam and Arwen.
Okay, so he's gone to the effort of making a full-on movie or a lengthy video, and it's got minimal views.
Yeah.
Isn't that the truth?
I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, let me
It's
get
in my watch list, QA, because I know you'd sent it out to us to say, so it's in my to-do list. That one. Just one little point, because Nathan, I wasn't there obviously on Friday in the stream, so I'm overly aware of the criticism that was good. What I want to say is when I was there, I was greeted, and the thing that most frequently said was, what you guys are doing on the flat earth debate and the information you're bringing us is amazing. We're all learning so much from it. So maybe you might hear a 2015, 2016 argument in there, but you'll start to hear those housekeeping questions, and the guys are I think they need some support with it. I'm looking forward to Tuesday and just going through it, because I spent some time going through with Jason. He just take me through some of the questions. They're not like us in terms of being on the debates all the time, and I think that's the point that the point I wanted to make, that I was surprised about, then therefore to maybe scold the panel members. You're on the panel for a bloody reason. Yeah, you get on there for a reason. It's because you are pretty much mastered this stuff. Yeah, so don't criticize the people, or you might lose your spot. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that.
No, I know that, but the point being, that information is getting out there. It's making a real impact. The panel members are making a real impact. Don't be disappointed if they don't. If people who are watching it and picking up and realizing how important it is, they don't repeat it verbatim, and they've still got their own viewpoint. I think, importantly as well, especially with people like Dave. So. But listen to what he is saying. I won't necessarily. The point I don't think with that father and son there, even though you could have criticised some of the things, some of the engagement, the allowing of space in some ways, not just chopping it off at the knees. I don't think many people could engage like that on the street that well and keep somebody there without them running off, and that's a harder skill than you realise, than just necessarily destroying somebody in debate online. Yeah,
I wanted them to be my panel. This is to be aware that there's a very fine line between encouraging people and alienating them. Being overly critical about something that they've expressed in this regard. It was about chakras and their belief in them. Like, live and let live. The guys on our side. This is very different to, and I will compare and contrast to feuds with Globebusters, because that's very different. So when you've got people who are head and shoulders above the rest of the people around them in terms of their ability to disseminate information, the expectation goes up. The standard has to be higher. So where we are critical of people like Bob, and that often ends in rows, there's a good reason for that. Because of the standard that someone like Bob, and indeed myself and Quantum Eraser, have to stand up to. The standard's just much, 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 much higher. And go on.
That's where we need to invest our energy. So also within the chats that were coming up was, Adam, what's with dielectric magnetism? Right? So that message is getting across. The Globebusters message that this is in some way an explanation to present to the public. So if we want to spend our energy, let's address that. Let's address these things instead of criticising the people that are picking up on the kind of panel members, those that are at the forefront of putting the message out there. Let's not necessarily criticise what they're picking up or how much they do or don't pick up, but I think it's probably important that from our perspective we focus on what else is being picked up and address those misnomers, because that was my take. 2 or 3 times I had that. What is that? What is it? Do you agree with it? Is it some? Yeah, I've heard it being alluded to in explanations in Cambridge today. Now that's for me what should be addressed. And where our energy should be spent, not necessarily critiquing individuals on the street for their interaction with the general public, which is a very different thing to doing the YouTube or Discord kind of arguing with anti-flat earthers.
Speaking in actual public, people fear more than death.
Yeah.
Public speaking, if you're not ready for it, it's pretty it's terrifying.
The worst bit when you do it is
What's worse than
you're
death,
doing that,
right?
and it's you just about got the guts to have a chat with someone, and you're doing it. And I'm reminiscing here, obviously. And then you notice 3 or 4 people gathering, and 5 people, and 6. That's when it gets hairy, you know. When you've got an audience on the street, it is a. And if you look at Dave, you know, respect to him, he'll march up that street shouting it. The Earth is flat. We did it in Italy. La terra è piatta.
Yeah, I got
A
that.
microphone
I
doing
got
it.
that tape somewhere.
That takes
How did that work out?
So what Nathan's saying?
the
so-
bollocks, Nathan.
yeah, hold on. So what Nathan's saying is you don't want to critique. There's a fine line right there, isn't there? Right?
Yeah.
I think it's horses.
There
for
is a fine
courses.
line because you have to assess it, and I can make that fine line seem broad
Right.
just by making a massive contrast between Bob and that guy. But yes, it's a very fine line.
Right. I'd have to think about that a little bit more closely. Was it that egregious? Was the errors he made that egregious?
No, not really. Only because it was broadcast. So I shifted uncomfortably because I'm responsible for what I broadcast. The critique should have come of me, right? Even though the guy's saying it, that might sound weird to somebody who's listening, but that's just how it is. It's ultimately down to me, isn't it? I broadcast it. Because it was broadcast, it was fair game to be critiqued. Therefore, I allowed it, but tried to, as I say, dampen down it and say, look, encourage the guy. I think the analogy I used was, look, just sharpen his tool and send him on his way. If he's encouraged by what we do, great. We want more people to be encouraged by what they do. And if the people out there are into astrology, for example, or chakras, so be it. So long as they go away with that particular tool or arrow taken out of their quiver, if that's what it's called, and sharpened by us, and then put back in and sent on their way. That's good enough.
Is that the bit that was criticised? That because that's interesting. Because that's religion. That's nothing to do with proving, disproving the ball, flat Earth. That's about integrating your religious viewpoint of the world into your new understanding of its nature. And I see it all the time on flat Earth forums with Christians using the Bible. So it's interesting that would be the point that picked up somebody who's not a Christian but has their own spiritual path and is reconciling with somebody else, that would be the point of criticism. Because that's not like picking him up. Like I said, I thought it was like not saying, look, space is fake. The vacuum of space is fake.
No.
Yeah?
Let's just get that clear. Oh, yes, that was all critique too.
Right.
The
Yeah.
thing that was focused on, and by Brian. He's not here to obviously talk to you about this now. So I think it's only fair that we do the reasonable and fair thing and do it behind his back when he can't respond.
I'm up for that.
Brian was the most unreasonable in this regard because he wanted to talk about gematria and numerology on the show, right? Yet when someone else is talking about chakras, he's got an objection to it. You're like, talk about your double standards.
I say it's nothing to do. You can integrate that in, but it's nothing to do with the globe lie. And whether Dave felt maybe part of the conversation chakras had been brought up before. Because
Wait a second.
Bloody ages before.
Wait a second.
That he felt that was relevant. I don't know, but I
Wait
say
a
it's
second.
part of-
What?
Wait a second. Was chakras brought up?
What's wrong with
not
chakras?
only
like-
chakras, John, but
What's wrong with
chakras
chakras?
equivalents to the 7 planets. How each of
Oh shit.
Uh-oh,
Yeah,
what?
astrological implications.
Hold on a second. What context was this brought up? Like,
it was within. I think it was something because I was filming it at this point, so I'm semi-listening. It was something along the lines of just like, what is, we're told a story that space is this. Maybe it's this. Maybe part of it's an alignment with your chakras. Maybe these are part of the foundations of how we all work. in terms of how God created the universe. Because one
that's
thing for sure,
all right.
that David believes in a creator. You know, that's fact. So what he's doing, I think, when he's talking to somebody there, is just he's evangelizing it within his worldview, with somebody that wasn't, from my viewpoint, unreceptive to that.
So what you're saying is it was in a serious tone that this is actually valid?
Yeah, he didn't do it in like Texas, did he? He did it in downtown Birmingham. Yeah, where
Talked about it with a guy who was either Sikh or Muslim, just going by the tone of his skin and general appearance. And you could tell, that's why I didn't get into this. I'm glad you picked
he
up
had
on
a
this.
strong accent as well.
Yeah.
Indian
But
accent.
my point is that guy responded to it in a positive way, as Adam just pointed out. And I thought we'd focus on that on the show. And I was like, notice how none of the panel have talked about the guy who was on the Globe side, who was talking about James Webb pictures, right? No one even mentioned the guy, the Globe believer, the general normie, and how he reacted and responded to some of the stuff that was put to him. And that was one of the things he was, as Adam just pointed out, didn't shy away from it, didn't make him recoil far from it. I'm not saying he was jumping for joy and getting his Bangra drum out, but I'm just saying he was receptive, right, Adam? Well, that's effective. Well, rather than focusing on the negative stuff, it's like, for whatever reason, he's got that guy's attention. Now, if I compare that to someone like Eric DeBay, who's got a much broader audience, he's managed to rebuild the channel twice, having had it wiped out, up to 100,000 subscribers twice, right? Well, that means that he's got something that's appealing to people on a certain level that we're not. Well, what is it? Well, he's got some of that mysticism in there. I'm not suggesting we do this, but I'm just saying that has captivated people far more than what we're doing. Now, does it matter whether or not we're right or wrong if we're not captivating enough people? Well, unfortunately not. We've got to incorporate that method of captivating people without necessarily the hocus pocus or oogie boogie or whatever it is that we're going to inject if we were copying somebody, which I don't think we should do. Yeah, as Adam said, it captivated the person who was listening, which is all that mattered.
That's the only audience. If I wasn't there with the camera, it's the only audience that existed. That one person. So when you're on the street chat, it's not about this is the housekeeping. This is the way to answer a housekeeping question.
That's
right?
true.
It's about engaging with somebody and trying to build a conversation, feed it, get them onto figure out what they want to talk about. Yeah. Otherwise, they just walk off straight down the road. Yeah. So you can't just go wading in, going boom, destroyed.
Okay, hold on. Let's stop it because we can go on and on and on. But I understand that was just between one person. This gentleman wasn't educating the masses here on chakras and planet alignment.
No,
Well,
he
yeah,
was-
inadvertently, because I broadcast it to 150 people.
right.
So
Yeah,
Nathan was
but if you
educating.
weren't there, then I think I got it. Yeah, that's yeah.
If all 150 people went, let's pretend we're not here.
I want to give some input about this, okay? Because I know the chakra
Make it
system,
quick.
and I will. I find the chakra system actually very reliable when it comes to spiritual matters in relation to the body. I've studied it like for over 20 years. But yeah, when you're going to mix it in with astrology, things get tricky. Usually when anything gets mixed in as a standardized approach with astrology, it gets tricky, right? So I totally agree about that part. It's not necessarily a reliable system when people do that. But chakras in it on their own, I find it a very reliable map,
All right.
personally.
Good enough. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you. Can we just extend a warm welcome to Witsit? Hey, Witsit. Witsit gets it here.
Hey, is what's it here?
Yes. Say hello.
What up? What up?
Hey, cool man. Good to have you.
Yes.
You know, on that, you've still not even said hello to Neil. The show's been going 37, and he's got a new headset.
Let's just red herring fallacy away from Witsit. Witsit is newly wed, right? And
Congratulations.
well, I'll just let him say. I'm gonna take his thunder.
Congrats.
Nice.
Oh yeah, we got married in March, and Kai's 17 weeks pregnant.
Oh, double
Nice.
congrats.
Well done.
Respect.
Well done.
Thank you.
how have you been, sir?
Pretty good, man. Lots of moving parts, but we're getting it all figured out.
Outstanding. Names?
If it was a boy, I wanted to name it Legend,
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
but I don't know if it's gonna be a boy. So maybe a Leah, or a girl's name.
Oh, that's a pretty name. Has Quantum Eraser come up by chance?
We're considering that as
Wow.
middle name options. Yeah.
As a no-name option. That's outstanding.
You can give it Arwin as a middle name, like it is if you want.
Very well
Or not.
played.
That'll be a Leah QE gets it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Very good. Well, congratulations. Good to hear it. All happy stuff.
Thank you, sir.
Just smile.
Yeah. They're the power couple of Flat Earth, man. Just like I said when it first went down, I was prouder than a game rooster. Have to tell you. I don't know why, but I was. Yeah. Cool beans, man. Welcome to the show, by the way.
I think he's really here for the science presentation, though.
Is he?
More so.
Yeah. Let's roll on, and we're gonna get to that right now because I didn't want to elongate the show. Usually I do elongate it. What's it? You should have came to the elongated show. But that's all right. We'll see what we can muster here. We're gonna roll on over to the science presentation. Well, part of it. This is part 5. There's many parts to it, and there'll be more parts coming up here over the next few weeks. So let me get my act together real quick, and voila. Damn, she's right there waiting. I like it when a plan comes together. Hey, even the right screen. All right, let's jump headlong into this. We're also going to get a special guest here. He's not going to be on the show. He'll be here in spirit. It'll be the dipshit astronomer, Dannyfaulkner. And you'll see where he fits into the presentation. So let's get on with it. This topic, ironically, this is another topic that came up last night. And I was thinking about it. And I said, along with the anti-glober, or now the globe heretic, this guy was talking about his theories, right? And I said, well, this is going to lead off tomorrow's presentation. I didn't say anything. I was thinking it to myself, but people are still on this thing. They haven't adjudicated the difference between a colloquial theory and a scientific theory. They always jumble them up in like an equivocation fallacy mess. and you're left, wait a second, let's go back to what you think a theory is, because it sounds like the connotation is a scientific theory. No. So let's take a look from your dictionary. A theory, the colloquial theory. It means a mere conjecture or guess. Well, a scientific theory is not that. So, from chemistry about scientific theory, a scientific theory summarizes a hypothesis or group of hypotheses that have been supported with repeated testing. Boy, that sure doesn't sound like a mere conjecture or guess now, does it? From quarks to quasars, a scientific theory consists of one or more hypotheses that have been supported with repeated testing. Got an echo in here. From Professor Wolf's University of Rochester Physics Labs, a scientific theory represents a hypothesis or group of related hypotheses which has been confirmed through repeated experimental tests. Right? That doesn't sound like a conjecture or guess to me. From Scientific American, a scientific theory is an explanation of some aspect of the natural world that has been substantiated through repeated experiments or testing. So clearly, what they're doing, and they do it subtly sometimes, you need to stop them. If they say theory, that's a trigger word, right? As soon as they say it, I put an end to the discussion, right? And move back to that and say, can you define that for us, please? Right? That's where it starts to circle the drain, and it ends quickly. Oh, and by the way, you can't have an actual scientific theory without it already being validated or confirmed by experiment. Hypothesis tested, like these definitions told you. That's what it is. It has to be tested by experiment, period. End of story. You want to have some fun, go out and in secular society or in the secular pseudoscience fairy tale and try to find yourself an actual scientific theory. You're not going to find any. They say scientific theory as the headline, but the moment you start digging deeper, there's nothing there. It's not a scientific theory. The poster child of that is Einstein, with both the special theory of relativity and the general theory of relativity. They're not actual scientific theories. They're actually colloquial theories dressed as a scientific theory, right? There's no experiments or tests in either of those papers. Not one iota. So that's a whole lot of fun when you expose that, especially to the audience. We want to stop here just for a couple minutes. Try to be concise. Do you want to stop here for a second?
I think the main thing to focus on is that colloquial theory versus scientific theory. Scientific theory is going to be backed by actualized hypotheses. i.e. you're going to have validated experiments at the end and then have a theory. Whereas your Captain Clouseau theory is a colloquial theory. An idea about something isn't contextualized in science. A theory in science is backed by scientific validity, as in an experiment. That's it. That's the only thing I can summarize what you've just said with.
As per Einstein, of course, it would be ad hoc, necessitated colloquial theory to try to say the Earth isn't stationary.
That's a what is situation. Can't apply science.
Yep. He's the poster child. There's many. They even call laws scientific theories. Even like professionals, like PhDs that are educators. I've got a few citations where they call the universal law of gravitation, the debunked law, they just call it a theory. Richard Feynman does it too. These people are clueless. They're just spitting out terms and phrases that are non sequitur. They're category errors. So just be careful. Go ahead.
Is that not correct in the colloquial sense?
No.
I've got a theory about gravity. Just something I've...
Oh, I've got a theory about gravity. That is a colloquial theory, yeah. But not the universal law of gravity. They even say it in the same statement. They even say law, and it's a theory. What are you... It's a carnival show out there, folks. All right, let's move on.
Law.
We're going to get to that. In fact, the natural law and scientific theory is going to be in one of the next two presentations, so just chill on that. Let's get into the logic and scientific method, because I think a lot of people are confused with this, and not only brain dead ballers. So let's take a look at this. Logic and the scientific method. Let's see if you hear any echoes from past presentations and what I've been telling everyone for years. So the scientific method is conducting using two and only two subforms of logic. What are they? Number one, they're inference. Number one, abductive. And number two, deductive. Period. End of story. Let me show you that I just didn't make it up. And I don't know, and this is for everyone, not, like I said, not only the brain dead baltards. Every time you make a claim, you see these three little words right here? You ought to adopt them as your mantra. As soon as you make a claim, the next words out of that incoherent pie hole should be as evidenced by. Not just claims, as evidenced by. But I digress. Here comes the cowbell with the abductive deductive. We're going to go to explorable.com. They're a secular research organization. So let's see what they have to say. Abductive reasoning. A number of facts from a multitude of sources, such as literature reviews and general observations, are gathered together. After an assessment of this information, the most likely hypothesis to explain the observations is adopted as the starting point of research. abduction is seen very much as the starting point of the research process, giving a rational explanation, that should be supposition, allowing deductive reasoning to dictate the exact experimental design. There you go. They put it all in one paragraph. Where'd you hear all this before? Oh, go ahead.
I don't like that.
You don't like it?
No, because it implies that abduction is something you can formalize and just do. And sometimes you can gather a number of facts from a multitude of sources, from such as literary reviews and general observations. Yeah, gather them together. Doesn't mean you get that abductive thought.
Yeah,
Abductive
that's true.
bit-
Just chill with that.
Yeah.
Just chill with that for a second. I'm going to round it out here in a couple minutes. Okay? All right, so let's take a look at this. So abductive reasoning is employed to establish what? We have observations, literature reviews, and hypotheses. Where'd you see that before? Where'd you see those three? And number 4, deductive reasoning is more narrow and is generally used to test or confirm hypotheses. That's an experiment. So we have observations, literature reviews, hypothesis, and experiment. Wait a second. We've seen that somewhere before, haven't we? And if it'll pull up. Remember the scientific method I've been saying for the past 7 years? About 15 years, but in our genre, past 7 years. Look at that. Huh. A perfect dovetail. I wonder why. Don't know. Maybe it was just coincidence. Unbelievable. So abduction, no conclusions are drawn. Observing phenomena, literature reviews, educated guesses or suppositions. No conclusions are drawn from abduction. That's hypothesis construction. That's the logic you use. Deduction is general to specific. It leads to certainty. Experiment. Example, all A or B and all C are A. Therefore, all C must be B. That's deduction. And the redheaded stepchild, as part of the inference bandwagon, is induction. Specific to general. It leads to what? Probability or likelihood. Poster child, most A or B, and this C is A. Therefore, this C is likely B. This has nothing to do with the scientific method whatsoever. I'm going to show you down here below. So, this is pretty important too. From courses at Lumen Learning, pay attention closely. The difference between abductive reasoning and inductive reasoning is a subtle one. Both use evidence to form guesses that are likely, but not guaranteed to be true. See it? However, abductive reasoning, this is the big one. However, abductive reasoning looks for what? Cause and effect relationships, while induction seeks to determine general rules. Uh-oh. Cause and effect relationships? Where do we find that at? Lowell C. from Cambridge, that was talked about earlier. A scientific hypothesis is based on cause and effect reasoning. A scientific hypothesis does not merely state X and Y may be related, but explains why they are related. From Drexel University, the scientific method is hypothesis-driven. One makes an educated guess to explain a cause and effect relationship. You see all the dovetails? You see how it's all sequitur? Anne-Marie Helmstein, a hypothesis is an educated guess based on observation. It's a prediction of what? Cause and effect. So, we went over this before. Cause and get up there. From Nature.com, California Institute of Technology physicist Sean Carroll arguing in The Edge that hypotheses aren't simply useful tools in some potentially outmoded vision of science. They're the whole point, right? So all we're talking about is cause and effect. Cause and effect. So abductive is used to gather causation in a quest for causation. That's hypothesis construction. Deductive is experimentation. This is natural science. That's what it is in a nutshell. As opposed to inductive reasoning, which is correlation, probability, likelihood. Folks, correlation doesn't equal causation. Correlation posing as science is pseudoscience. And let's take a look at the poster child because it's the thumbnail for today's presentation. Induction, right? I'll even give you a high P number here. I'll give you 10,000 roosters, right? This is the poster child of induction beside the black swan. We'll get to that here in a few minutes. So if I get 10,000 roosters and they all crow right before the sun rises, is the cock crowing causing the sun to rise? Or is it just merely correlated? See what I mean? There's a clear delineation here. If you're having problems with this, then you've got bigger issues than whether the earth is flat or a sphere or not. And finally, from the King Cheese philosopher of science, because we already trashed induction up there. If you think I'm just making this up, I don't know how you could think that. I just supported it till the cows come home. But let's get it from the King Cheese philosopher of science. Now, this gentleman is cited throughout secular scientific, quote-unquote, society. You'll hear it from time to time. People will bring up his name. But most people haven't even looked at his work. You're going to see why here. Right? This is Karl Popper. Let's take a listen to this. From Conjectures and Refutations via Wiki. As mentioned in this section, the problem of induction, Popper's response to the problem of induction is simply that induction is actually never used in science. I don't know how I can be any more clear, right? I just showed you above why it's not used in science. Karl Popper just put the nail in the coffin, the final one. Has nothing to do with me, right? And again, Conjectures and Refutations, 1963. Karl Popper, a philosopher of science, sought to solve the problem of induction. He argued that science does not use induction, and induction is in fact a myth. Uh-oh. You'll hear a lot of baltards bring up Karl Popper, and in the next breath talk about induction as the only thing used in science. Just your average, regular, everyday baltards, the skank and file. Guess what? We have a PhD going to show his face now. This is the dipshit astronomer, Dr. Dannyfaulkner. Now, I pulled this out of one of his blogs. Let's check this out. Let's just look at the, I'm going to read all the way through it, and then we'll circle back. Why call it the black swan? First, why do flat earthers call, that's a stereotype fallacy, call this the black swan photo? Well, I don't know, Danny boy. It's an enigma wrapped inside a riddle. Clown. Most swans are white. So after one has examined many white swans, it is easy to reach the generalization that all swans are white. Such a conclusion is warranted with inductive reasoning, where one makes conclusions in the general case based upon many specific cases. Listen up. Science is based largely on inductive reasoning. Really, Danny? Well, Karl Popper just contradicted your dumbass. Where'd you get your education from? Science is based largely on inductive reasoning, so this sort of approach often happens in science. Therefore, one might formulate the statement, all swans are white, as a hypothesis. We're going to get back to this little joke, but I want to focus on this little inductive reasoning, right? What did Karl Popper just say? As mentioned in this section, the problem of induction, Popper's response to the problem of induction is simply that induction is actually never used in science. Science does not use induction. Induction is a myth. Then we have Dr. Danny, the dipshit astronomer Faulkner, say that science is largely based on inductive reasoning. We got a problem here. Don't we, Danny? What in the world are you talking about, sir? And just to pile on, look what he calls a hypothesis. Danny thinks all swans are white is a hypothesis. Danny, what's your independent and dependent variables here? All? Is the independent variable all or swans or are or white? How about the dependent variable? Or is it the quotation marks? You frigging bozo just bashed yourself in the face with a spade shovel. By the way, Danny, the black swan is a logical argument. It has nothing to do with science, natural science. Hello, McFly! You frigging bozo. This is what we got, folks. This guy has a PhD in astronomy. Is teaching your kids this. But he's contradicting himself. He is a globe heretic. This is the definition of a globe heretic right here. Quick questions and comments with this. Did I lose everyone?
Not really.
No, we're all here.
Seems all straightforward. Anti-flat earthing.
I only made one note there, really, and it was in terms of inductive reasoning. They said there are general rules, and I have an objection to that. Rules implies something structured, that there is, like I say, some structure to it. There is some relationship to it. If you're dealing with probabilities and causations, you're not defining that. So I just even disagree with the woman that was, I think it was a female quote, that was kind of trying to justify inductive reasoning as well. I think to use the word rules implies more validity to what you're kind of trying to construct with the probability. It's not a rule, is it?
Objection noted.
Not to you, to the quote. You know what I mean?
Yes, I understand. Yeah. So I think this was pretty straightforward. I think everyone got the message. Danny, this goes well beyond Danny. I just wanted to give you a poster child example of a globe heretic and a pseudoscience priest, because he hasn't a clue. To make this statement, science is based largely on inductive reasoning. I don't know how. I don't know where to place that. That is directly the antithesis of what what natural science and the scientific method is. The antithesis of it.
The numpty zone.
This is.
I'm gonna have to steal.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna have to steal Globe Heretic.
Yeah, I thought the same thing too. What's it earlier? I think Nathan said it. I said, "Oh yeah, I'm taking that."
That's copywritten by Flat Earth Debate.
Bro, you're gonna have to catch me outside, bro, because that's too funny. I love to point out that it's like a religion, the Copernican principle, and it's a very efficient way to say what I always run into.
Yep. And Witset's always out there, folks, dealing with these guys. That's what they are. I used to call it, before you got in here, for many years, I used to call them the left-wing fuckwit faction that just makes shit up. That sort of evolved, pardon the term, can't stand the term. It changed to anti-flat earthers. But in actuality, they are globe heretics because they are not parroting. I'm talking about the numpties out here on the circuit. They're not parroting the correct rhetoric from their pseudoscience priests. And I'm sure Witset deals with it all the time. They're just making stuff up.
And that's how Flat Earth wins, right? Is bridging that gap, because everyone assumes that the mainstream theory, quote unquote, is legit, So they don't know that the anti-flat earth debate has evolved in such a way where to actually respond to the flat earth evidence, you have to directly contradict the fundamentals of the glue of the heliocentric model.
Exactly. You got it. Yep.
Very well put.
Yep.
I was just going to say that. Well said.
I could have only summarized it better in 9 questions.
Or 30 minutes.
I can summarize it in one word. Feral.
Well,
They're
that's the
feral.
point of the
Totally
housekeeping
bewildered.
questions, isn't it? It absolutely destroys them, and has taken to the point that what we're facing now is anti-flat earthers that have to deny the doctrine, yeah, to keep going, to keep arguing with us, because what they can't do is agree with their scripture, yeah, because it destroys it. So, blasphemer is the word which I'd use it on.
Yeah, that's good too, for sure. Because if everyone can agree that it's like this weirdo philosophical preference and bias that the earth is insignificant, you just have to cling on to it philosophically, which is a religion. You know, if we can agree on those terms, we can move on.
Own it, Kiwi. It's the numpty zone. They're the people from the numpty zone.
Most assuredly.
Most assuredly.
All right. Any more comments?
yeah.
I got
Well,
an
while he's
echo
mentioning
again.
the numpty zone, Alwyn's mentioning the numpty zone. He's got that from QE's clips. If you've not checked out QE's clips, check them out. You do a little bit which I thought was very funny. I've done it a few times, where you'll speak like a guy in a jazz club with a cigarette stuck into the string of his guitar, and he's can't remember what you say. Fools walking on a lone dark crossroads. Numpties flying everywhere. Something like that. Then you cut it up with something that's a bit Jimi Hendrix-esque. It's like a really stark contrast. It just works really well. Typically, I don't like that sort of thing. It's hard to get right. But in the numpty zone, which is what Arwen's referring to, those chunked out clips, is that what you're talking about, Arwen?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, excellent editing. Excellent. I really like
very
it.
good. It takes some skill to do that. Sleeping Warrior tried something similar. He could never pull it off. You've pulled it off. Well done.
Well, thank you. All right.
I was kind of asking what you said. Fools walking on a dark, cloudy highway.
Oh,
Something
that's
like that.
that's Peace Frog from the Doors.
Okay, what is it that he says?
Huh.
You've obviously not got it in front of your script.
I don't have a script. Hold on. Ballers scattered on Dawn's highway bleeding.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I prefer the Twilight Zone one.
Right. After the car crash sound bite.
The Twilight Zone one is good.
Yeah. You've entered the numpty zone. Yeah.
Give me. Go ahead, Adam. I got some peanut butter stuck in my jaw.
You are now entering numpty zone.
Da, da, da.
Now nobody wants to say anything, and I got friggin' peanut butter trying to snuff down a peanut butter sandwich.
You know, we've been talking about street debates and that really is the difference. You're not entering the numpty zone. If somebody does bother to talk to you on the street, you can tell very quickly whether they're like a complete shoe. And there are a few. There was one this week. I want to mention this while you're eating peanut butter. But you can quickly tell. You're always going on Discord and that into the numpty zone. 99.99% of the time, yeah. On the street, that really isn't the case. But there was at the beginning of the tour. They've had a few saboteurs coming up, John. I don't know if I'll send you the clip. I was trying to do it on Tuesday, right? But there's a guy comes with a mask on, and he's walking up, looking at the banners that are all posted, standing upright, and he's getting closer, and he stands on the ones on the floor, pretending he's trying to look closer at the ones that are standing up. And when he gets really close, and Jason's filming him, he's going to do something. He does this thing. He just kind of falls over into the banners and knocks it all over. Yeah, I mean, he gets a good hiding afterwards, which is quite funny as well. But it kind of exemplified what they've got. Yeah, they can't really do. They've got nothing. They've got no real arguments. All they can do is shuffle up in a disguise and jump on top of your banner, and hopefully that stops your message getting out.
Right, they got nothing but sabotage.
Numpty sabotage. All right, let's move on. I just want to show, I've showed this before. Here's one game the pseudoscience priests are playing. Well, watch this, and you guys will catch it. I'm sure most of the audience members will too. It's pretty easy. So, example. You observe a natural phenomena, which they did before. Sailors appear crippled, bleeding gums, tooth loss, and have poor wound healing after long sea journeys. So what are you going to do? So there's plausible causes. That is, independent variables. So I just rattled off a few here. You got prolonged exposure to seawater, inhalation of aerosol or aerosolized seagull droppings, prolonged exposure to swabbing the deck cleaning solution, prolonged rolling and the pitching of the ship, poor air quality, especially below deck, caused by smoke from candles and tobacco, mold, mildew, vapors from tar and waste in the bilges, hydrogen and carbonic acid gases from the ventilation systems. Well, I could go on and on. I stopped them with 5. Now, how about what we don't know? Now, we do know it now. I'm talking about beforehand. Put yourself back in this situation before the cure for scurvy was identified. So at that point, what about all those things we don't know, right? Including these independent variables. These things need to be tested if you're gonna follow up with one of these with a hypothesis, right? So what do we do? A, do we poll a bevy of current quote-unquote scientists and roll with what most think it is, then call it science? Or do we do B? Do we test every possible cause, red, independent variable, and validate the effect, the dependent variable, the prediction? Like science per se? Today's science, which is religion, that is, paleontology, anthropology, archaeology, geology, evolutionary biology, whatever that is, and yes, I'm still laughing, theoretical physics, non-experimental, astrophysics, astronomy, and cosmology. Guess what they do? They roll with the poll. A, because they are unable to validate or confirm anything by experiment. Most can't even make a hypothesis, for goodness sakes. Then they say, this is the kicker. This is pretty fun. Then they say, well, what's the problem? Since transistors work, therefore spinning balls, multiverses, dark matter, evolution, yes, I'm still laughing, big bangs, billions of years, ad nauseum, are scientific facts. That's their conclusion from up above, from rolling with the pole A. What in the world is going on out here? Wake the hell up! All right, let's finish it off. Scientific prediction. This gets used and abused and butchered. And again, heard it again last night. They still do it. They did it earlier this morning, today. I stopped one of them in Discord and asked them, can you please define a scientific hypothesis? How about a scientific prediction with that? They're going to see that they're both the same, right? But I wanted them to do that. They wouldn't do it, so I put them in timeout. So, scientific predictions are not. Let's go over what they're not first. They're not Gene Dixon, Edgar Casey, Jimmy the Greek, Mystic Meg, Nostradamus, or Carnival tent predictions. That's not what we're talking about here. In this sense, they're going to equivocate till the cows come home if you don't stop them with their fairy tale predictions, because they just begawk it. Like refraction. Predictions, we can predict. No, you don't. Not scientifically, you don't. I'll guarantee it. Now, let's remember, words from Anne-Marie Helmstein, PhD, Biomedical Sciences. Words have precise meanings in science. So we have to define this monkey. So what is a scientific prediction? Well, everyone tells you it's not going to take you too long to find this. From coloradostate.edu, scientific hypothesis is a special kind of prediction. There you go. That's what it is. A hypothesis is a special kind of prediction that forecasts how the independent variable will affect the dependent variable. So they give you a little background there, but all I had to say was it's a prediction. That's what it is. That's what a hypothesis is. So a scientific prediction is a hypothesis. How about that? Profound, right? PennState.edu. The scientist applies his or her present knowledge to predict the effect of the independent variable on the dependent variable. The prediction, the second time in this short citation, is a statement of the expected results of the experiment based on the hypothesis. This is a ringer. This is trifecta. 3 times in 3 sentences. The prediction is often an if and then statement. So what's a scientific prediction? Well, it's a scientific hypothesis. Duh. It's as simple as that. So to have a scientific prediction, you must have an independent variable and a dependent variable. In other words, a viable scientific hypothesis. If you don't have a scientific hypothesis that's viable, you do not have a scientific prediction. Simple. Comments, questions, concerns?
Anyways, it's the simplest part of the scientific method, right? Because once you've figured out what you want to study, i.e. you come across a naturally occurring phenomena, you're halfway there to having a full-on scientific prediction. You've just got to guess what causes it and have that guess be real. That's it. Obviously, it's got to be capable of being varied. Other than that, it's really simple, is it not? It's quite basic. You started off with what it isn't. What it is very simple. Cause and effect relationship with something you're observing. That's something you want to study and figure out what caused it and what you think caused it. It really isn't that complicated.
Yes, sir.
And of course, when making claims about the natural world, you would have to adhere to natural sciences.
Exactly.
Sciences. Oral.
What he's saying is that
variances within, of course.
what he's saying is the different disciplines with the natural science. You got, like we went over before, physics,
biology.
Yeah, you got those types. You got to be real careful with each of those. And I went over the reason or rationale why. Not everything is, basketized in those. Not everything in biology is actually natural science. Shocking, I know.
John,
go ahead.
The reason I said name more than one was chemistry, biology. Is maybe elucidate why, if you say physics, that includes chemistry, biology.
Yes. Physics is the mother of all the other ones. Yep.
So all of those disciplines sit under physics anyway.
Yep.
And they're making physical claims about the natural world.
I was going to say they have to be subcategorized because of the statement QE made previously, which is, take, for instance, group studies within medicine, right? Well, you can subcategorize that into medicine and then have an overarching biology encompassing all of those things that happen within medicine. But you can't then use something outside of the scientific method, but within the bracket of medicine, and call it science. Because there's these overlaps, there's plenty of grey area for people to hijack the terminology. That's why it's been hijacked.
Medicine's littered with inductive reasoning, and medicine per se is not science in the way in the way it's been described. What's it saying? We're talking about the natural world. It's the physical natural world, that's why it's physics. Medicine to me is a subdivision of biology and chemistry, and it will use some of the science from those disciplines within it to induce treatments in a lot. If you look at stuff, it's not. There is science in there, but patient outcome isn't necessarily a cause and effect relationship. People don't tend to fit in that bracket. So medicine itself, I wouldn't say the practice of it is science. There is science within the knowledge of it that's been gathered, but not in of itself. A lot of it is inductive. It's probability based. Yeah. But yeah, just to reiterate, the important point is for me is it's what we said, natural world, and that's what physics is. It's the physical and natural world.
We got some people slid in here. We got Brian's Logic. We got Chocolate. They're being all quiet. I'll tell you what, folks out there in YouTube land, we got Whitson in here. We got some heavy hitters.
Just say we had nothing but positive things to say about all of them, including Brian, before they got here.
Oh, we've taught you a right new one, Brian, tonight.
All I caught, hello everyone, hello Kiwi. All I caught was Nathan saying, and then he had the cheek and the gall to talk about this other man talking about chakras. I got that part. I didn't hear before that. I went, that has to be about me.
Not everything is about you, Brian. Don't worry your little head about it.
Yeah, they're probably cursing me out too, so it's all right. What's up, guys?
What's up, Chocolate?
Hey, Chocolate.
We were just saying that we were being hypercritical of something that people fear greatly, which is public speaking. And instead of necessarily praising all the good aspects of how he engaged the person he was actually interacting with, beyond the fact that I broadcast it, which meant it was open to critique. So I'm just dropping all my disclaimers in here, Brian, to give you plenty of meat to chew on. Yeah, I broadcast it, therefore it was worthy of critique. You critiqued it. And in all honesty, I hate to say this because this is what alienates my audience. But I'm on QE's channel, so who cares? Yeah, you will alienate them if you critique them in that manner. But I did actually agree with everything you had to say. I also contrasted it with you saying, talking about gematria in various different shows. And I'm saying, well, Kettle, hello.
I know, I suspected that was what you meant. I hadn't heard that part, but I could put two and two together. Yeah, I have spoken about numerology at different times, and I've shown where it seems to happen, and about the number 9, etc. But I can't say what the man was saying was wrong, because I don't know. But if I'm speaking to somebody about the topic, I keep it within physics and geometry. I find sometimes people start bringing it off into other things. Could be spiritual matters or anything else. It's like, we're just talking about the world we live in, the physical 3D world. If we can show them that what they thought it was, it's not, and it's something else, and show them it's something else through physics and geometry, then whatever else on top of that is a sidebar. That would be my point. I can't say the man was wrong because I don't know if he's right or wrong, but I wouldn't use it with a member of the public. I would keep it within physics and geometry.
100%. I couldn't disagree with you at all on any of those scores. And further to that, where you lose, if you're a person out there on the street talking about flat Earth, or just the guy talking to his next of kin about the flat Earth they've discovered on YouTube or whatever, if you're that guy and you're desperately trying to engage with the person and you actually end up barking at them about something they're not interested in, i.e. this doesn't land, they're talking about chakras, so let's keep it on that theme. It completely switches the person off, but to the point that they want to object to it, and then you end up arguing about it. The person walks away having a win against your speculation or religious belief or whatever it is that you've postulated at that time. What Brian's saying is, if you can keep it to stuff that you can show in many instances empirically, then you're on a really strong foundation when they walk away from you. They're not going, oh, it's just some idiot who's into chakras, some bloody hippie, just some idiot that's into numerology. What an idiot. None of that. If they just walk away going, that person described things about the physical and natural world and then demonstrated how they were measurable or demonstratable or whatever they did in a very coherent way. And that was it. They're not going to walk away with anything other than a ponderance about the nature of the world that they're living in. And from that regard, Brian, I agree with you entirely. On the other hand, I'm a YouTuber and I don't want to alienate my audience, and I know they are.
Well, that's the mindset difference, isn't it? Not everybody has to have the mindset of that this is the way I want to deal with it. Not everybody thinks, I don't care that I can't believe that the chakras are linked to this, that, and the other, and they're happy to paint and their worldview to other people. Right? I think that's something that we purposefully observe, because if you look at the Flat Earth debate panel, we've all got very different worldviews, yet we hold it together with that unifying point, of just dealing with those housekeeping questions. And the Glober's worldview, it's not necessary for us to, but that's not necessarily the attitude of people who can be asked to get up and go out on the road to do these things. Maybe you want to add a bit more, and you're prepared to share a bit more of your worldview. Yeah, a bit like we all were back in 2015 at the feast. Yeah, being engaged in all sorts of
criticized when you're at the absolute top of your game, which Brian is. You know, you're on the panel daily or almost daily or whenever you're on, when you're not out living it up with all the girls. You're there, and there's a reason you're there and controlling and out, because you're top of your game. And that in this arena, you're top of the game in this arena. So it is easy to critique when you're top of your game other people who are just not, doing it. Doesn't mean I disagree with anything he said.
Well, I appreciate all the compliments. That's very nice of you. But my problem is, and I know QE agrees with this. It's first of all, there's three things. The topic of chakras doesn't prove or disprove whether it's a flat, a horizontal plane, or a globe, or anything else. Secondly, it's something, as you said, and this would be an error, this would be a big point, and I should have made this myself, but I didn't get there, you said it first, is you can lose on that point on the street. When someone pulls you on it, looks for some evidence, you can't produce evidence. All you can do is tell them about chakras. That's all you can do. And third, he is representing this man on the street, even though he's the one out there doing it, he is representing me. So will the person he talks to think that me and everyone else who's a flat earther are saying the same things concerning chakras and planets as this man is? You know what I mean?
No, Brian, I think for me,
You have a false dichotomy.
he's representing you. No, he's not. He don't even know who you are. He's representing himself and his viewpoint. And if somebody challenges him,
Careful, Adam. He did say we very specifically.
Yeah, he did.
and that I would suggest if you pushed him on the point, are you representing Brian? Yeah, and I think that's a bit harsh as a point of rebuttal to him that he used that term we, and certainly I don't think it's fair to attribute. But my point, I don't think it's fair to say he's representing you. Whenever Dave says loads of stuff, some I agree with, some I don't. I feel that he's speaking for me. I speak for me.
Yeah, that's true. Hold on a second, Adam. I understand what you're saying, but the concept behind it is he is speaking, whether we like it, whether he likes it, whether anyone likes it or not, he is representing flat Earth, and by that, flat earthers. Now, people will wrongly stereotype everyone into thinking that what he says, everyone, all flat earthers believe, and it's wrong. However, Brian is correct. He's representing the people that stand, not the community, the people that stand for the flat earth against the globe. It's just the way it is. So you have to be careful. It's just my humble opinion. You have to be careful on what you're going to say, because they're going to broad brush. Most people are going to broad brush other flat earthers, right?
Oh, no, that's like...
No. Yes.
Let's
Let's hear his
That's
objection.
like you precluding the use of scripture. you're gonna, I mentioned this earlier. This is not him, and I'm not talking about him engaging in the space stuff. This is why I was confused as to what the point of attack was. You could use scripture, and he could have just as much issue with that, and so could somebody else. Somebody else could use the Quran. Yeah, but that's what he's doing there. He's using his religious philosophy.
Yeah, no. Nope.
Would engage with.
Nope.
Right? He's
False.
Nope. He's not at that point. Come on,
Stop.
let me finish.
No, because that's a false dichotomy. It's a false comparison. I'm not using religion with that.
You're going to justify the Bible, but let me just let's just imagine everything being equal. Yeah, that everybody's faith for them to espouse it is equal in this conversation. Yeah, that's all he's doing there. I don't see, like I said, to me, if somebody you're going into that point and you're going to go into your metaphysical and religious understanding of things, then at that point you're not speaking for flat Earth. Okay, quite clear. You're giving your religious viewpoint, your metaphysical viewpoint. We're not talking about flat Earth anymore, the nature of the Earth. We're talking about much greater things, So leave that is where that criticism should sit for me, in the much greater things box, not flat Earth, because that's where the criticism is. As Brian had to put the kind of qualifier in, he might be right. I don't know, actually. Yeah. So I don't think we need to attack people. Then we have to just. This isn't.
I know. You see, you're stop for a second. You're going off on another topic. You're going off on another topic that doesn't have anything to do with what I said.
Go on then. Sorry.
I already went on.
Yeah, but I was mid-ramble. I wasn't really listening to you.
We're all reasonable men
problem-
here. We will, at the end, take a vote on whether he just gets the thumb screws or if we rack him and then lynch him. We'll figure it
I
out.
could have booked him. I'm meeting him on Tuesday. We could definitely get him in the van.
Yeah, but it's not him. I'm not talking about him. I didn't hear what he said. My focus wasn't on him. You following that? Anyone?
So we're talking about our own doctrine then? Well, no.
But Adam, the problem is,
Be careful where we're criticising, don't we?
but Adam, the problem.
Go on.
Sorry,
Bob.
No, I thought you were finished. I'm sorry in what you said. The problem is that the person he's speaking to doesn't know that that's just his opinion, or the opinion of him and a few other people. If this other man ever hears that I'm a flat earther, or you're a flat earther, or anyone's a flat earther, whoever he's speaking to could be thinking, "Do I think that these chakra things align up with the planet?" Do you know what I mean?
So what?
It's like it's the impression
Right,
that
that's not. You see.
so what? Because it's not a good. It's not a good
Really,
look. He should be
then what should he do?
Hang on.
Okay. No. Because
Leave me
that's the
finish.
whole point. No, this is the whole point. You're getting this.
I
this
agree with
thing
Adam.
that A street engagement with somebody is going to send them off. No, you've bothered to engage with somebody. If they wander off and they have heard 30 things from you, and one of the things that allows their cognitive dissonance to not deal with all the other stuff you've said to them is chakra alignment, then so be it. It'll get you eventually. Yeah, or all the things that matter. But for you, what you're talking about is, unless people are fully trained up in the Church of the 9 Questions, then they shouldn't go out there and expose their own opinion. People are allowed to go out there, and for me, they're not speaking for me. They've got the nuts to get off their arse and be able to be criticised. Yeah. So I don't think they are criticisable, especially if you listen in on little bits like that, which, like I said, isn't for a big audience. The only audience that was supposed to be there was Dave and those 2 people, and we only caught a small glimpse of what had happened. Yeah, and I think we're in very danger of criticising 2 very different activities and trying to liken them. They're not the same. Standing on the debates and standing in Discord with a well-developed plan with prepared opponents is very different to meeting newbie members of the general public, and more importantly, trying to engage with them on topics. And if you pull out a topic like chakras, it helps develop the conversation. So be it if you end up sharing a little bit of your own personal beliefs.
All right, hold
Down
on a
the
second.
line,
Hold on a
if you
second, guys.
engage with that
Hold on.
person, they'll be able to distinguish the truth about flat Earth and its reality and what were your personal beliefs. But without meeting lunatics like that in the past, I'd have never got here.
All right, thanks. Shout out to the Super Chats. Unitox Femu. When I grow up, I don't want to be Danny. That's a good goal. And Tony Wickham. He says, shout out to Adam Meakin. As I met him yesterday, I was very humbled and remained cool as F. Thanks for the Super Chats, guys. Go on, continue arguing. You got 10 minutes to argue this out.
I just shout out Tony Whitcomb, and I've got a DVD off him that I'm going to share with you, Owen. Look forward to it, but I won't mention it here.
I want to make a note on the discussion that's just taken place. So, from my perspective, this is what needs to happen. This is excellent because it means that, on the one hand, Brian's aired the criticism, which is the starting point. So there's nothing but praise going to ever go to Brian for making the criticism in the first place. Number one, because I agree with all of his critiques. Then you get to air why that's a dangerous game and how you'll alienate the audience and how it's a bit unreasonable. But then come to the conclusion that you can't be dictatorial about it. You've got to live and let live. When it comes to people engaging people on the street, more power to them. But ultimately speaking, the reasons why we have critiqued him are as follows. You end up potentially losing a discussion or losing people's interest based on something that isn't empirical. You could have offered an empirical answer to their question or offered a piece of empirical information that was very much grounded in stuff that's been argued over, formulated in a logical way, and then presented in those questions. Now, we can't expect everybody out there to be on the tip of the spear, but hopefully we want to encourage them to want to acquire the information and the tools to be able to do that. We won't do it by alienating. But because Brian made the criticism, it means we can discuss those whys and wherefores, and the discussion itself hopefully shows that we're not just unreasonable assholes who just want to criticise everybody because they're not at the standards that we perceive they should be at. How dare they? But also why we would, if we were to, and we have, criticised them and what we'd criticise them for, because hopefully you'll see that we've got the best of intentions when we do criticise. The reason Brian's criticising is because even though it didn't happen in that small glimpse, there's a potential that could disseminate into plenty of rows that I've seen broadcast by Jason of the Disbury family, who you should subscribe to today. Well, those conversations that do disseminate pretty quickly into a full-blown row and someone storming off, which I've seen, like I say, many a time, might have been better served if the thing that the person was left with wasn't chakras. It was, no, there is no Earth curve edge at the horizon, and all the logical reasons that go along with why that is the case. That would be much more effective, even when the guy storms off. And that's what we would hope for anybody who's disseminating the information that we disseminate for them. Far be it for us to criticise anybody who wants to disseminate their own faith. Everybody's free to do whatever the hell they like in that regard. We can't stop him, and we would be stopped if we tried to. So, by that token, he can do whatever he likes. We just have the best of intentions when we say we would like you to have the best possible footing when you get into these discussions, and grounding your argument in something that's been absolutely thrashed out to the nth degree, and even if it's just a concise point from within that discussion, for instance, there is no sky vacuum, which was the one aspect that, again, we probably would have got onto eventually if it wasn't for chakras. He talked about space and how it was fake in various different aspects that came from a few years ago from our standards. And, in a very sort of positive criticism way, you can say, that would have been a much more effective conversation if you just said, there is no sky vacuum. Those web pictures that you're sort of appealing to have come from a place that isn't real. It's a Narnia by equivalent, because if the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill that space. And then appeal to how a vacuum would behave if the sky was one. And then no chakras discussed. If the guy gets annoyed and says, well, gravity makes gas go down. Does it? Gas goes down, huh? Then they storm off, and all they've got to be thinking about when they storm off is that. Rather than hippie with the chakras. I'm done.
That I heard today, Nathan. It was amazing. I've been listening to the stuff, and you guys probably missed this bit as well, but off camera, loads of the other people that are there just saying, loving the stuff that the Flat Earth debate's bringing, the detail, the quality, yeah? Now, to criticize them for not fully understanding and be able to repeat it verbatim isn't the point. What I took from meeting the guys was, wow, look at what we're achieving. Yeah, look at the interest with it. And if you listen to Cambridge today, there was a number of times that Jason, he didn't bullshit. He went, I don't know that, but go to this, and referred to the poster, and that's why it was important to me to get that out there. And he said, go on there, go to the debates, and you bring your questions there. He's referring to it, and I think it's just a project in development. If we work together, they'll have heard our points of how to argue this. I don't think that'll change anything. Next time Dave gets a chance to talk about chakras with someone, he's going to discuss it, mate. It's happening. Yeah, just like if you get a chance to talk Jesus with Neil, it's going to happen.
There you go with the false comparison fallacy again. I knew you'd do it.
We're not talking.
There you
Just
go.
make I was going to make a point on. Sorry. This was a contentious point, so I was going to make light of it by pointing out that we are talking about stereotyping fallacies. So why it's an unreasonable comparison, I know you can argue that point, QE, and you're right. However, we are talking about how we behave when a stereotyping fallacy is applied to us. When Brian says that guy represents me, we're talking about our reaction to the stereotyping fallacy, which is true and is there. And when there's a juxtaposition made by Adam to the Christians, he's doing it within the stereotyping fallacy. You were quick to say, I don't do that. And you're right, you don't do that. You're very disciplined in that regard. And to your credit, you also don't go around barking about what other Christians should or shouldn't do. Yeah, even though you don't do it. The point is that it is being discussed within the stereotyping fallacies that are applied to us. So by that standard, and I know it's you may not like it, you don't have to, tough luck, that is reasonable for Adam to do because of the context of the discussion that we're having about stereotyping fallacies and how they're applied to us.
Ban him.
What I
No, I know you don't.
What
do
I
it.
would say,
and
second
just one sec, because that's a really important. I wasn't throwing that. I threw it particularly at Neil because he's the one that does do it, particularly for Neil, and it's not a criticism. That's his worldview, and it's important to him, and his worldview is justified in that way, just like other people's are justified in other ways. But that's not the discussion we should be having. It's that we should accept those slightly differing worldviews, but reconcile under the flat earth banner, and realize that if sometimes somebody says those sorts of things and we don't agree with them, it's not really the argument we should be having and expending our energy in.
Sounds like a bunch of bullshit to me.
Same goes for Ether. Same goes for Ether. Sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. The main point I'm making, right? This lad, is it David or Dave, Adam? He can talk about these things. I can't tell the man not to do something, right? That's his business, his life. I have no power over the man. But like, from an audience point of view, if I heard that, I could start thinking that all of the people who are into flat earth could think in that thing as well. That could be enough for to keep me away from it. I could go to the Flat Earth Society website and see 3 brilliant things and 1 ridiculous thing, and that could be enough for me to stay away from it. Now,
right, Brian,
I'm not finished. I'm not
so
finished.
important.
No, hang on. I've let you speak. I've been quiet. Now leave me finish what I'm trying to say.
Owen, can you interrupt, please, at this moment?
Hang on. Leave me finish this. This is important, what I'm going to say. If you're out there, I think it's the wrong tactic if you're trying to represent yourself or represent a group. You should be represented by physics and geometry. That way you don't have to represent anything. Physics and geometry, you're just presenting them and they're representing themselves. Then you don't have to worry about whether that person thinks what you said is strange or anything else, whether they think that what you said is the same as what you think is the same as everyone else who talks about the same things thinks. You just physics and geometry. It's 3D reality. That's the argument, isn't it, really?
I'm not sure what the argument is, whether we're talking about the purity of the argument or whether or not we put people off. Now, please don't take this as a slight, But it's just to exemplify my point. Look at what Trinity Four's done. Look at how many people he's woken up to flat Earth reality. Yeah, most of them not agreeing with his other spiritual points, but look at how many people he's woke up, what he's done. Compare that to your structurally correct as of today argument, and which is the better methodology for getting the message out there. That would be my point. There isn't a true doctrine that needs to get out there. What needs to be gotten out there by any means necessary, certainly at the street level, yeah, one-on-one, engage with people and get over the message that the globe is a lie. Yeah, and if that's all you get over, that's what you want them to leave you with. Just that. Just with a doubt of the globe. You're not trying to reaffirm a worldview with anybody. Yeah, and I don't think Dave was there. I think that's false to think that.
Okay.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay. Yep. Let's wrap it up. We're going to have to end the show. Sorry about that. This could go on for hours.
Aww.
Yeah. This could go on for hours and it probably will after the show. So I can boil this all down too, and we can think about this. We might bring the subject back up maybe on Tuesday. So does the end justify the means? So think about that for the next show. I'll bring it. I wrote it down here. So I think it boils down to that. If we could, because we can go off on many different tangents as we've already done. I would like to shout out Witsit Gets It. Shout out to his beautiful wife, Kai. Thanks for coming, Witsit. Sorry, I'm going to have to wrap this up pretty quickly here. But thanks for coming, man. You're welcome anytime.
Sweet. Thank you, man. Enjoyed it.
Nathan, take us home, sir.
Okay, well, because we're ending quite abruptly today, I've actually just literally this second published a Flat Earth debate over on my main channel so that people can usher their way along there. So I will post a link in the info box or the live stream chat box right now, so you can actually make your way over to Flat Earth Debate 1662, which was formerly members only, but will now go out to you in the audience. A massive thank you to all of today's ballbusters for making today's live show possible, and of course a massive thank you to all of you in the live stream audience for making today's show a lot more interesting, and thank you to all of you smash the super chat on the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel and all that good stuff. I would thank the public participation section, but we haven't had one today. Just had a bit of Witsit, which was equally as good, I would say. So thank you to Witsit for joining us today. It was really appreciated. And that's pretty much it. We'll see you in the next one. Make sure you check out Flat Earth Debate over on the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, and we'll see you in the next Ballbusters.